Hey friends, I'm Jackson. Welcome back to Jackson English Stories. I'm really glad you're here. Let me start with a question. What if I told you that the key to speaking English fluently isn't grammar, or vocabulary, or even time? It's that little moment you avoid every day. Talking to a stranger.
Oof, just hearing that makes my heart beat a little faster. Talking to strangers in English, that used to be my worst nightmare.
You're not alone, Anna. I think almost every English learner knows that feeling. You've studied hard, you understand a lot, but when it comes to real conversation, you freeze.
And it's not because you're lazy or unprepared. It's because your brain goes, what if I mess up? What if they laugh? What if I can't understand their answer?
Exactly. That fear, that hesitation, it's the biggest wall between you and real fluency. But here's what most people don't realize. That fear isn't a problem. It's a doorway. And when you step through it, something powerful happens. You begin to use your English for what it was meant for. Connection, not perfection.
You're not here to take a test. You're here to live, to connect, to feel proud of speaking, even when you make mistakes.
So today, we're not going to study grammar rules. We're not going to practice tongue twisters. We're going to talk about something deeper.
Why talking to strangers in English might be the best practice you're not doing.
And how it changed everything for me. I'll tell you the story of the first time I ever spoke to a stranger in English. I was terrified. I got the words wrong. My hands were sweating. But something beautiful happened.
We'll also share real stories from learners who avoided speaking for years, until one surprising moment gave them the courage to start.
And you'll get tips, real, usable tips, for how to talk to strangers today, no matter your level.
Because this video isn't about being perfect, it's about being brave.
And before we dive in, I want to ask you something. Have you ever wanted to speak English, but didn't? Because you were afraid of making a mistake? If that's you, write in the comments. That's me. No pressure, just honesty. Because sometimes, the first conversation is the one you have with yourself.
And hey, if you want more videos like this, full of real stories and real practice, we'd love for you to subscribe. Only if it feels right for you.
All right, let's take a breath. This story starts in a quiet coffee shop, with a very nervous version of me. But before we get there, let's talk about you. Have you ever stood in front of someone, full of English in your head, and still said nothing? If yes, you're not alone. Let's begin. So, I promised you a story. This one takes place a few years ago, before this channel, before I had any confidence in English. Just me, a notebook, and a very cold cup of coffee.
Let me guess, you were sitting in a cafe, rehearsing sentences in your head, but too nervous to actually say them?
Exactly. I had this little notebook filled with phrases like, "Can I have a cappuccino? How much is it? One coffee, please?" I'd practice them 100 times at home, out loud, in the mirror, even with YouTube videos. But when I walked into that cafe and saw the barista behind the counter, my brain went completely silent. Nothing, just noise and fear.
I've been there. It's like your body forgets English exists, your hands sweat, your mouth dries up, and suddenly the barista feels like a grammar exam.
Exactly. He wasn't even looking at me. He was just doing his job. But to me, he might as well have been the president of the English language. I stood there frozen. In my mind, I thought, don't say it wrong. Don't mess this up. Just don't speak.
And that's the moment most people walk away.
I almost did. I nearly turned around and left. But then, something strange happened. I looked at him, and I thought, if I leave now, I'll still feel nervous tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. So instead, I stepped forward. I smiled. and I said, cappuccino. One, please, for me.
Oh,
It wasn't smooth. My pronunciation was off. I forgot the word have. I said please in the wrong place. But you know what?
he understood?
He smiled. He nodded. He said, one cappuccino, coming right up. And in that moment, I felt like I'd climbed a mountain. Not because I ordered coffee, but because I spoke. I used my English in the wild, in real life, with a real person.
And no one laughed. The world didn't end.
Exactly. He even asked, where are you from? And just like that, we had a conversation. Short, simple, but real. We talked about the weather, the traffic. He gave me a tip on which bus to take. And the whole time, I was thinking, wait, this is it? This is the thing I was so scared of?
You know what I love about that story? It's not about perfect English. It's about permission. You gave yourself permission to try, to sound strange, to be human.
Yes, and that's the first big shift. Because up until that moment, I was waiting for my English to be ready. But the truth is, fluency doesn't wait for readiness. It grows when you act, especially when you're not ready.
And sometimes all it takes is one sentence.
That's it. One sentence that breaks the fear. And you know what else? After that day, I started doing it more, little by little. Asking for directions, making small talk in a shop, saying hello on the bus. Each time, the fear got a little smaller. And my English? It got faster, more natural, less stuck in my head.
So, let me ask you something. If you hadn't said anything that day, if you had just walked out of the cafe, where do you think you'd be now?
Honestly? Still stuck in the same place. Still studying English, but never using it. That one small sentence opened the door. And now I can't imagine going back. Hold on to that thought. Because in the next part, we'll meet someone who studied English for 4 years, but had never spoken to a native speaker. Until one unexpected moment changed everything. And maybe it will sound a lot like your story. Let's keep going. All right, so now you know my story. But I want to tell you about someone else. Someone who, in many ways, was even more afraid than I was.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about. Is it Amir?
Yes, Amir. We met in an English-speaking club. He was one of those people who always sat in the back, nodded politely, but never said a word.
I remember. He had this quiet, focused look, like he was always listening, always learning, but never joining in.
Exactly. And one day, I asked him why he never spoke during the sessions. He looked at me, kind of smiled, and said, because if I open my mouth, all my grammar will fall out.
Oh no, that hits too hard.
Yeah. I laughed gently. Not at him, of course, but because I understood that feeling so well. He told me he had studied English for 4 years, every day. He had apps, books, flashcards. He even kept a journal in English. But not once had he spoken to a native speaker.
4 years and 0 real conversations?
Yep. Not because he didn't have the chance, but because every time someone said, "Hey, how's it going?" he'd panic. He'd smile, nod, pretend to be busy, and walk away.
So what changed?
That's the best part. One day, Amir was walking in his neighborhood when a tourist stopped him and asked for directions. Now, normally, Amir would have panicked and said, "Sorry, no English." But something in him, just a flicker, decided to try. He pointed. He said, "Go straight. Left. Big building. Simple. Broken. But understandable."
And the tourist?
Smiled. Thanked him. Walked away like it was nothing. But for Amir, it was everything.
That was his moment. like yours in the coffee.
Exactly. He said later, I was shaking. But I realized I didn't die. I didn't get laughed at. He understood me. It worked. And after that, something changed. Amir started looking for those tiny opportunities, helping people find buses, asking questions at the market, even making small talk at the gym.
And the best part? He didn't wait until he was perfect. He just started.
Yes. And that's something I want everyone watching to hear right now. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to begin. Amir didn't suddenly become fluent overnight. But every time he opened his mouth, he built something. A little courage, a little muscle, a little rhythm.
And what I love most is he kept a little notebook with him, but not for studying, for recording what he actually said, what worked, what confused people, what made them smile.
That's real learning. Learning from experience, from connection, from trying and adjusting. And here's the twist. Amir told me he still made mistakes. Tons of them. But no one cared.
'Cause people aren't grammar checkers. They're just people.
Exactly. And most of them want to help. Or at the very least, they're too busy with their own lives to judge you.
So here's a question for everyone watching. Have you ever almost spoken to someone in English, but stopped yourself? What held you back?
Let us know in the comments. Even writing it out can help you face it. And in the next part, we'll explore that exact fear. Why do we avoid talking to strangers? Why does a simple hi feel like such a risk? We'll break it down and show you that fear is more about habit than reality. Stick with us.
So let's talk about it. Why does something as simple as talking to a stranger feel terrifying?
It's such a strange thing, isn't it? You can memorize 500 vocabulary words, watch English shows every night, even pass a written test. But when a real person says, "Hey, how are you?" your brain freezes.
It's like a fire alarm goes off inside your head, and all those words you've studied? Gone, vanished, out the window.
And that freeze? It's not about your English level, it's about your mindset. You've trained your brain to be careful, to wait, to get it right before saying anything. But real conversation doesn't wait for perfection. It rewards participation.
And I think a lot of us grew up with this fear of sounding stupid. Like if we say something wrong, people will judge us, laugh at us, think less of us.
Yeah. That voice in your head says things like, "Don't embarrass yourself." What if they laugh? Just stay quiet. It's safer. But that voice? It's not protecting you. It's limiting you.
And most of the time, it's not even based on real experience. It's just fear of what might happen.
Exactly. You're not afraid of people. You're afraid of a version of yourself that doesn't exist. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you judged someone harshly for making a mistake in your language? Probably never, right?
Right, when someone tries to speak my language, I feel impressed, even honored.
Most people feel the same way. They don't expect you to be perfect. They're just glad you're trying. But your brain? It's been trained by years of safe English, studying at home, watching videos, reading quietly. All good things, but they don't build real-life courage.
It's like trying to learn how to swim by reading a book about swimming. You can memorize every movement, but you'll never feel the water. You'll never learn how to breathe through panic. You'll never float.
Exactly. You don't learn how to swim by studying water. You learn by getting in the pool. And with English, that pool is conversation. Real conversation. With real people.
Especially strangers, because they don't know your story. They don't expect anything from you, which means it's actually the safest place to practice.
But the fear tricks you. It tells you, wait until you're better. Just a little more practice first. And that just a little more turns into months, years, silence.
So what's the first step?
Awareness. Realizing that the fear is habit, not truth. It's a response you've practiced. And anything you've practiced, you can unlearn.
Okay, but let's get honest. Fear doesn't just go away because you understand it. So how do we move through it?
By lowering the stakes. Instead of thinking, I have to say this perfectly, try thinking, let's see what happens. Curiosity beats fear.
Yes, instead of performing, you're experimenting.
Exactly. Fluency isn't about getting it right. It's about staying in the game even when you don't. So here's a thought for everyone watching. Next time you feel that freeze, ask yourself, what am I afraid will happen? Then ask, has that ever actually happened? Most of the time, the answer is no.
And even if it did happen once, it didn't destroy you.
Right. You're still here, still learning, still growing. And guess what? In the next part, we'll talk about what you're actually missing when you avoid these real-life moments. Because fluency isn't just grammar and vocabulary. It's timing, rhythm, eye contact, energy, things that books can't teach you. But strangers, they can. Let's explore that next. So, let's be honest. When you avoid real conversations, when you stick only to books, apps, and YouTube, you're not just avoiding discomfort. You're actually missing out on some of the most important parts of fluency.
Totally, because speaking English isn't just about using the right grammar. It's about feeling the rhythm, knowing when to speak, how to pause, how to react when someone laughs or raises an eyebrow or doesn't hear you the first time.
Exactly. These are the micro skills of communication. And guess what? Books can't teach them. You learn them from experience, in the moment, with people, in context.
Like how to interrupt politely, or how to respond with a little laugh when someone makes a joke. That's the stuff that makes conversation feel natural, and no app teaches that.
Right. And it's not just about sound, it's about energy. Have you ever noticed how two people can say the same sentence, but one sounds friendly and the other sounds awkward? It's the tone, the timing, the comfort level, and all of that comes from practice in real-life settings.
Let's take two learners, same grammar level, same vocabulary. But one of them talks to people every day, shopkeepers, waiters, random strangers. The other only studies alone. Guess who sounds more fluent?
Every time, it's the one who uses English in the wild. Even if they make more grammar mistakes, they sound more confident, more real, more fluent.
Because fluency isn't about saying everything perfectly. It's about saying things comfortably.
Yes! Let me say that again. Fluency isn't about perfection. It's about flow. And flow only comes from doing, from real experience, not from waiting, not from repeating textbook dialogues with zero emotion.
You know what? I used to memorize full conversations, word for word. And then when I talked to a real person and they didn't say their lines exactly like my book, I panicked.
Yep, I've seen that so many times. The moment the conversation takes a left turn. Oh no, this wasn't in the script.
But that's the magic of real English. It's unscripted, it's messy, it's human. And honestly, it's kind of fun once you get used to it.
Totally. And here's something else most learners don't realize. When you talk to strangers, your brain learns faster. Because it's real. There's a bit of adrenaline. Your memory locks in. You remember the words, the feeling, the moment.
Right. I still remember a time I asked for directions in English, got them completely wrong, ended up lost. But I never forgot the phrase, go past the bakery, then turn right. Because it was tied to emotion and stress and a real story.
Exactly. So for everyone watching, if you feel like your English is stuck, even though you study a lot, it might be because you're only feeding your brain, but not training your reactions. And reactions come from interaction.
So let's ask you, What's something you wish you could do in English, but feel too nervous to try? Order coffee, ask for help, join a conversation, write it down, say it out loud. Because in the next part, we'll talk about something that might surprise you. Strangers? They're not scary. They might actually be your best teachers. Stick around. This next one could change the way you see people forever.
So let's talk about the big fear. The one that hides behind every hesitation, every silent moment, every fake smile and polite nod. The fear of being judged.
Yep, that one. It's so common, and yet most of us never say it out loud. It's not just, I might make a mistake. It's, what if they think I'm stupid?
Right. We imagine this stranger, this barista, cashier, tourist, as someone who's secretly grading our English in their head. Like they're going to stop mid-conversation and go, that was the wrong verb tense. 0 points.
But here's the thing. Most strangers, they're too busy living their own lives to judge you.
Exactly. Let me tell you a quick story. I was in Berlin a few years ago, trying to buy a train ticket. I was learning German at the time, and not very well. So I walked up to the counter and tried to say, "1 ticket to Hamburg, please." But what I actually said was something like, "Ein Huhn nach Hamburg, bitte."
Wait, did you just say 1 chicken to Hamburg?
Yep. I asked for a chicken, not a ticket. And the woman behind the counter? She paused, smiled, and said, "Do you want to eat the chicken or ride it?" We both laughed. She corrected me gently. I learned the word for ticket, and I never forgot it again.
That's brilliant. And that's the thing. When you make a mistake in real life, it turns into a memory, not a failure, a story.
Yes, and often people are kind. They see that you're trying. They recognize the courage it takes to speak in another language. And you know what? Sometimes they help you.
I had that once on a subway in Toronto. I asked a woman, "Where is the Downing station?" I meant Downsview, but I mispronounced it. She didn't correct me harshly. She just said, "Ah, you mean Downsview?" It's 2 stops ahead. And then she asked, "Are you new here?" We ended up talking for 3 stations.
And just like that, a mistake became a moment of connection.
Exactly. And I want to say this clearly for everyone watching. Most strangers don't care if your English is perfect. They care if you're polite, friendly, human. And honestly, even if they do notice your mistakes, so what? They'll forget in 5 minutes. But you'll remember the courage it took to speak.
That's why we say strangers can be your best teachers, because they give you what no textbook can: real-time reaction, unexpected questions, natural speed, and maybe even a little compassion.
And here's a little secret. When you talk to strangers, you also become one. You become the English speaker that someone else is nervous to talk to. And when you smile, when you're kind, you pass on that same encouragement.
That's beautiful. It's like a circle of bravery. One person speaks, the other responds, and the fear, it melts.
So here's our challenge to you. Talk to one stranger this week, just say hello. Or ask a question. Doesn't matter if it's perfect, just open the door.
Because you might think you're bothering someone. But maybe, just maybe, you're giving them a moment of joy, too. In the next part, we'll talk about how to do it, without panicking. What do you say? Ready for a few real-life tips? Let's go there. All right, so you're convinced. You get it. Talking to strangers is the fastest way to build real fluency. But here's the question. How do you actually do it without freaking out?
Because let's be honest, knowing something is good for you doesn't make it easy. We all know vegetables are healthy, but that doesn't stop us from ordering fries.
True. So, let's make this easier. First, you don't have to start with a full conversation. Start with something small, tiny even. It can be a glance, a smile, a nod, a simple Hi.
Think of it like stretching before a workout. You're warming up your social muscles.
Exactly. And here's one of my favorite ways to begin. Look for low-pressure situations. You don't need to go to a party or join a debate club. Try these instead. The cashier at the grocery store, someone sitting near you at a bus stop, a barista, a receptionist, even a dog owner walking past you.
These are moments where the conversation is naturally short. There's an opening, a purpose, and no one expects anything deep.
Let's do a quick example. Imagine this. You're standing at a bus stop. It's quiet. A person is checking their phone. You take a breath and say, "Excuse me, do you know if bus 42 stops here?" Boom! You've started a conversation.
And if they say yes, you smile, say thanks, and you've just spoken English in public. That's a win.
Exactly. Even if it lasts only 10 seconds, your brain just got a confidence boost. Let's try another one. You're in a coffee shop. The person in front of you orders something you've never heard of. You lean in and say, "That sounds good. What is it?" They'll usually smile, explain, maybe even recommend it.
And now you're practicing listening, reacting, being curious, all without memorizing a script.
Here's the key. Start with curiosity, not performance. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're exploring.
That mindset shift is huge. When I stopped worrying about sounding smart and started focusing on connecting, everything got easier.
And if you still feel nervous, try this. Before you speak, breathe out. Not in, out. That breath releases tension. It tells your body, "Hey, we're safe. This isn't a tiger. This is just a human."
I love that. Simple, powerful, and totally doable in any situation.
Want one more trick? Talk to yourself first. Seriously. On your way to the store, say out loud, "Okay, if I ask the cashier what time they close, I'll say, 'Excuse me, what time do you close today?'" Practice it. Hear your voice. Get used to the sound.
And then when the moment comes, it won't feel so new. It'll feel like the next step.
Yes, one step, one sentence, one breath at a time. You don't have to be fluent today. You just have to be willing.
So here's your mini challenge. Think of one small moment tomorrow where you could say something in English. Plan it, rehearse it, and then try it. Doesn't have to be perfect, just real.
And in the next part, we're going to turn that idea into a full experiment. Something fun, something simple, something called One Stranger a Day. Trust us, it changes everything. South, you've learned the mindset. You've got the tools. You even practiced in your head, maybe out loud. Now it's time to make it real, with something simple, fun, and surprisingly powerful. It's called One Stranger a Day.
I love this challenge because it's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. Just one person, one moment, every day.
Exactly. It's not a performance, it's a practice, like brushing your teeth, but for your English courage. So here's how it works. Every day, for the next 7 days, your only goal is to start one small interaction in English with a stranger.
It could be anything. Asking for directions, saying good morning to a security guard, asking someone what they're reading, ordering something new at a coffee, whatever fits your life.
And it doesn't matter how short it is. In fact, the shorter, the better when you start. Because this challenge isn't about grammar, it's about building your reaction muscle, the part of your brain that says, "I see an opportunity. I take it."
And here's the cool part. After each interaction, take 1 minute to write it down. Who did you talk to? What did you say? What did they say back? How did you feel? It's not homework. It's memory. It turns a tiny moment into a personal win.
Let me tell you about someone who did this. Her name is Sophia. She's from Brazil, learning English for work. Great reader, great listener. But in her words, "I go blank when I see real people." So she tried the one stranger a day challenge. Day 1. She asked a bus driver, "Does this go to the station?" He said yes. That was it. Day 2. She asked someone at the bakery, "Is this bread sweet or salty?" Day 3. She said, "Nice shoes," to a tourist in line at a museum.
That's beautiful. So small, but so real.
And by day 7, she said she looked forward to the challenge. It became a little game. How can I sneak in one English moment today? By week 2, she was having small conversations without overthinking. And she told me, "I still make mistakes. But now I smile when I do."
That right there, that's fluency, not the kind you measure with a test, the kind you feel.
Exactly. Because when you speak every day, something shifts. Your fear gets bored. It starts to pack its bags. And your confidence? It wakes up, stretches, starts walking beside you.
So here's what we want from you. Yes, you watching right now. Try the one stranger a day challenge, just for 7 days. Track it in your phone, or in a notebook, or even in the comments below.
Let this be your journal of courage. And hey, if you miss a day, no shame, no guilt. Just try again tomorrow.
And if you're thinking, but I live in a place where no one speaks English, we've got you. That's coming in the next part. Because there are ways to practice with no one around. You just need a little creativity, and we'll show you how. But for now, your mission is simple. One stranger, one sentence, one day at a time. You got this. Okay, so maybe you're watching this and thinking, Jackson, Anna, this all sounds great, but I don't live in an English-speaking country. I don't see tourists. I don't have anyone to talk to. We hear you, and trust me, you're not alone.
In fact, most English learners in the world don't have daily access to native speakers. But that doesn't mean you can't practice speaking. You just have to get a little creative.
And sometimes, practicing alone can be even better, because it's a safe space, no pressure, no judgment, just you and your voice.
So let's talk about how to do it. First, shadowing. You've probably heard of it, but here's the real magic. Pick a short English video or podcast, maybe even this one. Listen to 5 seconds. Pause. Repeat exactly what you hear. Same rhythm, same tone, same attitude.
It's like being an actor. You're borrowing someone else's voice, learning how it feels in your mouth. And the more you do it, the more natural your speaking becomes.
Exactly. And don't worry about understanding every word. Focus on sound, flow, emotion. Because real fluency isn't just knowing words. It's feeling them.
Another great tool, talking to yourself. I know it sounds weird, but it's actually powerful.
You can talk to yourself anywhere. Cooking dinner? Narrate what you're doing. I'm cutting the tomatoes. I'm adding salt. Oh, that smells good. Walking outside? Describe the weather. It's sunny today. A little windy. That tree looks like it's dancing.
You're not just speaking, you're training your brain to think in English. That's huge.
And here's a fun one. Mirror conversations. Stand in front of a mirror. Look yourself in the eye. Ask a question. Answer it. How was your day? Pretty good. I went to the store, and guess what? I actually asked the cashier something in English.
It feels silly at first, but over time, it builds confidence. Because you're practicing not just words, but presence.
And if you want to level up, try using AI voice tools or language apps that let you speak and get feedback. You can talk to a chatbot, record your voice, even simulate real conversations.
There are tons of free options. Elsa Speak, SpeakPal, Youglish, even Google Assistant. They're not perfect, but they get you talking.
And let's not forget one of the most underrated tools, voice messages. Find a friend who's learning English too, or even post on a language group. Send each other short voice notes, 30 seconds, one sentence. doesn't matter.
You're not only speaking, you're connecting, and that makes the language feel alive.
Look, here's the truth. The only thing you really need to practice speaking is your own voice and a little courage.
Because fluency doesn't come from waiting for the perfect partner. It comes from using what you have right now.
So even if you don't have anyone around, you're never alone in this. You've got your voice, you've got your tools, and you've got us, cheering you on every step of the way.
In the next part, we'll tell you about someone who started exactly like this, alone, afraid, and unsure. But through daily courage, they changed everything. Let's go meet them.
So let me tell you a story. It's about someone who didn't speak English well, didn't grow up with it, didn't have fancy tutors, didn't even believe they were good at languages. But what they had, every single day, was the courage to try. His name is Min.
Ah, Ming, I remember. He wasn't the loudest student. In fact, he barely spoke in the first few weeks.
Exactly. Min was quiet, careful, the kind of person who took notes on everything, even jokes people made in class. But when it came to speaking, he froze. Every time. His voice would shake. His eyes would drop to the floor. And after class, he would come to me and say, "I know the answer. I just can't say it."
I know that feeling so well. It's not about English. It's about fear. That tight feeling in your chest.
Yes. But here's what made Min different. He didn't run from the fear. He leaned into it, slowly, gently, one step at a time. He started doing something amazing. Every day, he would start one English interaction, no matter how small.
Even when it felt uncomfortable?
Especially when it felt uncomfortable. He once told me, "I decided to be brave for 10 seconds a day." That's it. 10 seconds. Enough to say, "Hi." Enough to ask a question. Enough to make eye contact and speak.
That's so powerful. Because fluency isn't built in hours, it's built in moments.
Exactly. And little by little, Min changed. He started asking questions in class. Not big ones, just, "What does that mean?" He began helping tourists at the market, saying things like, "This one is spicy, that one is sweet." Then, one day, something incredible happened. He raised his hand during a presentation and said, "Can I try?" He walked to the front, heart pounding, voice shaking, and gave a full 1-minute talk.
How did it go?
It wasn't perfect. He stumbled on words. He paused. He forgot a phrase halfway through. But you know what? Everyone clapped. Because we all knew we weren't watching someone who had perfect English. We were watching someone who had earned every single word by showing up with courage.
That gives me chills. Because it's not about speaking like a native. It's about speaking like yourself, unafraid to be seen.
Yes. And here's the part Min said that stuck with me the most. "I used to compare my English. Now I compare my courage." That hit me. Because language isn't a competition. It's a bridge. And Min? He was building his one plank at a time.
So to anyone watching this, thinking, "I'm too shy" or "I'm not ready," Min was you, just a little earlier in the journey. And if he can speak up, so can you.
The goal isn't to speak without mistakes. It's to speak anyway. The mistakes? They'll come. They'll teach you. But the silence? That teaches you nothing.
So here's our question for you. What would happen if, starting tomorrow, you stopped measuring your English by how correct it is and started measuring it by how brave you're willing to be?
Because courage builds fluency, not the other way around. And in the next part, we'll tie it all together. The lessons, the stories, the shift. And ask one final question. Are you learning English to be good at it, or to live with it? Let's bring it home. So here we are, almost at the end. But really, maybe this is the beginning. Because I want you to ask yourself something. Honestly, gently, why are you learning English? Is it to pass a test? To get a certificate? To say you're fluent someday? Or is it to talk to people? To connect? To live more fully in this big, beautiful, complicated world?
Because here's the truth no one tells you. You can spend years learning English and still feel silent, still feel afraid, still feel like it's something you study, not something you own.
And the reason? Most of us skip the real shortcut. The one that's not in textbooks. The one that feels scary, but sets you free. Talking to strangers.
It's wild, right? Because it's the thing we avoid the most. But it's the one thing that makes everything else come alive. The grammar, the vocabulary, the listening. All of it starts breathing when you use it with real people.
And when you do, when you say just one sentence, even broken, even nervous, you realize something. English is not just a language. It's a tool. And tools are meant to be used, not perfected.
It's like playing guitar. You can study chords for 5 years, but unless you strum, unless you hear the sound, it's not music, or like painting. You can watch tutorials forever, but you won't create art until you pick up the brush.
English is the same. It becomes yours only when you speak it. Not perfectly, just honestly. So many learners spend their whole journey thinking they're not ready, that they need just one more course, one more rule, one more push. But the missing piece? It's not in a book. It's out there, in a smile, a question, a short moment with someone you don't know yet.
And the best part? Those strangers you fear, they're not waiting for perfect English. They're waiting for connection. And maybe they're scared too.
That's the beautiful irony. We're all strangers to someone, and we all want the same thing: to feel seen, heard, welcomed. When you take that step, even just one word, you're building more than language. You're building bridges.
So let's look back. What have we really talked about today? That fear is natural, but not permanent. That one sentence can change your confidence. That talking to strangers unlocks the fluency books can't teach. That practice doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real.
And most of all, that your journey doesn't need to be loud or fast or perfect. It just needs to be yours.
So if you've watched this far, we want to say something simple. We're proud of you. Not because your English is flawless, but because you showed up, you listened, you reflected. And maybe, just maybe, you're ready to step outside the study zone and into the real world of English.
So here's the final question. Are you learning English to be good at it, or to live with it? Because when you choose to live with it, you stop waiting. You start speaking. And suddenly, the world opens up. In the next and final part, we'll leave you with one small action. One word, one stranger, one start. Let's end with heart. Take a breath. Really, just one deep breath. You've made it through this entire video. You've listened to stories, faced your fears, reflected on your own journey. And maybe something inside you feels a little different now. A little braver. A little less alone.
You don't have to remember every sentence we said. You don't have to do everything tomorrow. But if there's one thing we hope you carry with you, it's this. Fluency begins with connection, not perfection, not performance, just connection.
So tomorrow, when you walk out into the world, we invite you to do something small, something simple, but something powerful. Say one word to a stranger. Maybe it's hi. Maybe it's thanks. Maybe it's, is this the right bus? It doesn't matter what you say. What matters is that you said it.
Because that one word, that's the sound of your courage waking up. That's the sound of your English becoming real.
And if you feel like sharing, we'd love to hear about it. In the comments, tell us, where will you try talking to a stranger this week? A coffee? A market? The elevator in your building? Or maybe If you're still working up the courage, just write, "I'm getting ready." That's enough. That's a beginning.
And if this video helped you, even just a little, feel more ready, more human, more hopeful, feel free to hit the like button or subscribe, but only if you really want to keep going on this journey with us. We're not chasing numbers. We're building stories.
Stories like yours. And hey, next time you talk to a stranger in English, remember this moment. Remember that someone, somewhere, is rooting for you. Because we are.
You've got this, and we've got you. See you in the next story.